You clicked on this video to find out about how fighters work and a guide to them, and where better place to start than character creation. Now, before going over the fighting styles, I'm just going to show you and go over what all fighters get, what we can expect from them. So the clue's in the name, they fight stuff. So they have proficiency in all types of armor, shields, and all types of weapons. So you can be walking around wielding whatever you want, wearing whatever you want, and you're going to be swinging everything just as good as you could be. We also get Constitution saving throw proficiency, which is nice because this helps resist damage and effects like poison, some maybe in the future diseases. Strength saving throw proficiency, that's okay. There are a few spells like Entangle that have strength saving throws. And we also get this bonus action as it is, Second Wind, this ability. Draw on your stamina to heal yourself. Now it says 1d10 plus 1. Where this comes from is actually 1d10 is a set of die. This plus 1 is your level. So this is 1d10 plus 1 currently because we're level 1. But as we level up, this bonus goes up and up and up. It will never be a massive amount of healing. What it doesn't tell you here though is that this comes back on a short rest. So you can use this during most combats and take a short rest after the combat and you're going to be fairly well healed. Your hit points at character creation will be 10 plus your constitution modifier, which is currently 40, and I haven't picked any races or abilities yet. This is just the standard stat spread for a fighter, so this can change depending on your constitution. And so then we come to a fighting style. We get this at level 1, which is great. And no other class gets this at level 1. Rangers get it at level 2, as do paladins, I think. The fighters right from the beginning, and they get the largest choice of fighting styles. So we almost have to make a decision right at character creation as to what type of fighter we're going to be, what weapons are we going to use, and where are we going to be standing in the battlefield. If you've watched my Ranger and Paladin videos, you'll have some sort of idea as to what these are like. Anyway, archery plus 2 bonus to ranged weapon attacks. This is amazing if you're going to be using a ranged weapon. It's a plus 2 bonus to hit. This is like having a free high ground all the time. Plus it stacks with high ground and advantage and your plus 1 bonus from magical weapons that are plus 1. If you're not going to be using ranged weapons much, this would be a waste. If you are, this is the top pick. Defense, this is kind of if you're not quite sure what type of fighter you want to be or you don't want to kind of specialize too early. Plus 1 defense is always going to be good, especially in early access, where the enemies don't have massive bonuses to hit, so each point of armor class is actually going to really help. So this is another strong pick. Dueling, so this is kind of where we're starting to have another kind of style, I suppose, of fighter. What are you going to specialize in? If you want to have a one-handed weapon, I can't press T here. If you are wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no weapon in the other hand, people often read this wrong. They seem to read this as if you've got a weapon in one hand and nothing in your other hand. It doesn't say that. It says no weapon. So you can and should wield a shield. Wield a shield. Wear a shield. You get a plus 2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon. It doesn't help you hit, but if you hit harder. So if you're going to use a one-handed weapon and a shield, then this is the one for you. Unfortunately, we can't put in a versatile weapon and only wield it one-handed without a shield. Some people want to have maybe like a a longsword in one hand and nothing in the offhand, just for the way it looks. We can't currently do that. You have to put a shield in if you're going to be getting the bonus from dueling. Anyway, if you're going to be using a one-handed weapon, this is great. You hit, you do more damage. What's not to like? Great weapon fighting. This is the one Lae'zel has. When you roll a 1 or a 2 on a damage die for an attack with a two-handed melee weapon, and it must be two-handed, not versatile, but it must be two-handed, such as a greatsword, great axe, glaive. That die is rerolled once. Now, for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, people have done the maths. This is actually not that good, but in Baldur's Gate 3, if you have, so let's say, the Everburn Blade, you've got an extra 1d4 damage. If you roll a 1 or a 2 on that damage die, that gets re-rolled as well. So actually, it's much better in Baldur's Gate 3 than it is in 5th edition. So if some of you have got kind of this hangover from 5th edition of, oh, great weapon fighting isn't that great, do you know what? It's a bit better now. I haven't done all the maths, but it is obviously going to be better if you roll a 1 or a 2 on a 1d4 and you get to re-roll it. It's a good thing. Protection, toggleable passive feature, so it's not a reaction. When you have a shield, impose disadvantage on an enemy who attacks one of your allies when you are within 5 feet. You must be able to see the enemy. This sounds good, but the downside is you have to be within 5 feet of your ally, so you've really got to be walking around in a pair or running up to an ally to kind of protect them. And that's easier said than done. You might have to absorb opportunity attacks. You might have to use all your movement to get there. You might have to pass up an opportunity to kill someone else if you want to use this. I would say of all of the fighting styles, this is the one you're probably going to get the least use out of, because all the other ones, or at least so far, as long as you're, for example, for archery, as long as you're using a ranged weapon, you're going to be using it. Defense, you're always going to be wearing armor. You're going to be using defense every time. Same with dueling. If you've got this one-handed weapon, every time you hit with it, great weapon fighting, same thing. But protection, you're not always going to get use out of it. So I don't tend to pick this one very much. Perhaps I'll actually pick it for one of my fighters in this video, because I do like to try things out that I haven't tried out in a while. And then 2 weapon fighting. When you make an offhand attack, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of that attack. Before level 5, this is actually really quite good. It's not that after level 5 it's really bad or anything, but at level 5 you get to make 2 attacks anyway, even if you've just got, like, say, a 2-handed weapon or you've got a sword and shield. What I would recommend is, if you are taking 2 weapon fighting, perhaps at level 4 take the 2 weapon fighting feat, or the dual wielder feat, because then you can actually have something like 2 warhammers, one-handed, one in each hand, and you get your ability modifier to the damage of that attack. So if you've got a high strength, you get a +3. Normally you don't, but there is... I assume this is going to get fixed. I don't know. There's one exception to this at the moment, with, and there has been for a long time, dual wielding hand crossbows. The offhand attack with a hand crossbow automatically adds the dexterity bonus to the damage. That shouldn't really be happening, but there it is. None of these are inherently bad, but you just got to make sure that whichever one you pick, you are actually going to use it. So if you pick 2 weapon fighting at level 1, it's pointless to pick it and then go around with a greatsword, because you're not using your offhand attack. So you really do have to remember which one you've picked. And like I said earlier, if you're not really sure which one to pick, you don't want to kind of put yourself into a certain position, or a certain type of fighting, go for defense, take that +1 armor class, you won't regret it. Alright, that brings us to the next most important decision, the race. Now, I would say fighters have a very good choice for races to pick. And this is linked to the fact that they can specialize either in strength or dexterity. Because if they pick strength, then they get the ability to use any weapon and use it well. With dexterity, they obviously get to use finesse weapons and ranged weapons well. And so this leaves loads of races that have at least a +1 in either strength or dexterity. So there's a lot to look at here. So for high elf, they get dexterity +2. Unfortunately, the weapon proficiencies go to waste because we already have proficiency in all weapons. We'll come across that in a few other races, actually. Then you get to pick a cantrip. I mean, perhaps Blade Ward. Casting it during combat is often not the best idea. Doing it before combat, or maybe on a turn where you can't do anything else. All the enemies are out of range, out of line of sight, you can't shoot them. Perhaps you can cast Blade Ward. I've done it myself a few times. If you want to be the party's face, Friends is okay. Light, especially if you're a melee character, you can provide light for people like Will and Gale and Lae'zel. Mage Hand's okay, because you're unlikely to be concentrating on anything else, and it provides an extra target for enemies, which is great because it means they're not attacking your characters. Minor Illusion can be helpful. I'm sure somebody out there is going to say, pick True Strike. Don't bother. Watch my video about how crap True Strike is. If you're thinking that you want to pick True Strike, it's just a waste of a cantrip. You can pick another cantrip that's better. Dancing Lights as well, forgot that one. If you've got a high intelligence, then perhaps you could pick an attacking cantrip, but at level 5, you've either got to pick a cantrip or 2 attacks. But at level 5, your cantrips will do as much damage as a wizard does, so, you know, not necessarily bad. Wood Elf is great just because we get the extra movement speed, so you can get into combat earlier, and we get an extra proficiency. Obviously, with Elves, we also get Dark Vision and Fey Ancestry. Proficiency in Perception. Tieflings, there's a particular Tiefling here. Zariel Tieflings get Strength +1, Charisma +2, and a few spells, which is nice, a free cantrip. Get strength. I've done this myself a few times for fighters with Zariel Tiefling. The Drow, because they get dexterity +2, plus all the things that elves get, and some spells, so Dancing Light and Fairy Fire and Darkness, but they depend on your charisma for the spell save DCs. We do get the proficiencies in these weapons, but like before, we've already got these proficiencies. But one thing not to look down on is Superior Dark Vision. 80 feet is further than any of your spells, or, well, ranged weapons. We can pick a human, because we're going to want Strength, Dexterity, and Constitution. Githyanki, obviously we've already come across a Githyanki fighter. The first companion kind of we come across on the Nautiloid is Lae'zel, and she's a good fighter. Unfortunately, we don't get any bonus out of these proficiencies. Short sword, long sword, basically weapons and armor. We get Strength +2, which is great. There aren't many classes with Strength +2. There's one more to come later. But they do get some awesome spells. So the Mage Hand isn't so awesome. is invisible. I rarely use it on Lae'zel. What they do get is jump. Well, I get to why that's amazing later. Well, I don't know, let's go through it now. The higher strength you have, the further you can jump, and the jump spell triples your jump distance. And you can jump so far with a high strength. It's really good. And then level 5, Misty Step. So you can get right into combat. This once per long rest, so you can't use it all the time, but get in there, or get out of danger, I suppose. Githyanki is a strong choice. No dark vision, though. Dwarves, so all dwarves get Constitution +2, which will be useful because you're likely to be hit quite a lot. You're going to be up in the front lines. You're going to need to take some damage. But in particular, the shield dwarf, not for these proficiencies down here, but for the strength +2. It's only Githyanki and shield dwarves in particular that get strength +2, which means you can get the highest possible strength of 17 at character creation with this dwarf. Plus, then we do get dark vision, unlike Githyanki. But again, the weapon proficiencies go to waste. You get advantage on saving throws against poison. Plus, you're going to have proficiency in Constitution saving throws. You're very, very likely to pass saving throws against poison, and you get resistance to poison damage. It's quite nice. Half elf. Obviously, because we get to choose which two things, I would suggest whichever your main attacking stat is, let's say strength, plus constitution. I think it's nice to have constitution, plus whatever flavour of half-elf you want. Halflings, we get dexterity. Dexterity +2, so this will set us up for using finesse weapons and ranged weapons. Brave, for advantage against being frightened. And lucky, people have been asking whether lucky's working. Do you know what? I'm not certain. Perhaps I'll take a halfling as one of my fighters as well. And then, if you're being super fightery, if that's a word, pick strong half-heartling and you get constitution +1, and the same thing as with dwarves and dexterity +2. Lastly, gnomes, we get 2 versions out of 3 have dexterity as a bonus. So we've got the forest gnome, which gives you speak with animals, which is kind of cool, and gnome cunning, advantage on. I love gnome cunning. It is such a strong skill to have. Feature, not skill. In deep gnomes, we get this extra dark vision, advantage on the stealth checks, dexterity +1. And Constitution +1, I would usually avoid picking a race that doesn't give us a 16 an hour attacking stat. But loads of choices because we've got strength or dexterity. It's almost hard to pick a race that won't work with a fighter. Experience whatever you want. Origin just changes whatever proficiencies you want and your inspiration, but that's not linked to your class really. The skills that fighters get to choose from are these ones here. I would almost always go with athletics for at least one of the two, because that's going to help you shove just that little bit better, and also helps you resist being shoved if you part into strength, and then whichever other one you want. I know perception is fine. And then we come to abilities. So I've already kind of mentioned that you want to pick either strength or dexterity to be your main attacking stat. So I could put dexterity here. I would say you want a decent constitution. If you're feeling brave and you want more stats for the mental, or more ability points for the mental stats, maybe put your constitution down to 12. It is a bit risky. You're going to be on the front lines, but if you're feeling brave, you could do it, so you don't get any stats to penalties. I wouldn't normally do it, but I think it could work. As a fighter, I would say you shouldn't rely on just dexterity, or I mean, as a tertiary stat, you should have some strength. Why, I've already mentioned it really, that you want to be able to jump further and carry more, because you're potentially going to be wearing some heavy armor. I mean, armor that's literally heavy, and it's going to take up a lot of your carry weight. And you don't want to be a liability for your party. Plus, there are a few instances where having a strength of 12 is needed to jump up to some places. The one place that comes to mind is up in the rafters in the goblin camp, kind of above where Joragzin is. If you go up on the ladder nearby, you do need a certain amount of strength. You'll find that Gale and Astarion can't actually jump up to the rafters. Obviously, you pick the stats that you want. If you pick strength, just want to reiterate that you can and do have the ability to use any weapon you want, so you can be using the Everburn Blade, you can be using glaives if you want. There aren't any special glaives, but if you want... Is that true? Wait, there's Sorrow, isn't there? I think Sorrow is a glaive. There aren't very many special glaives anyway, not any special halberds, for example, but strength gives you the possibility to use any weapon. Likewise, if you're going to be having a high strength, let's just say Githyanki, I would also say don't have a dexterity lower than 14 if you can help it. Why? Well, you don't want to be going late in the turn order. You don't want to be slipping over in grease. You do want to be able to use a ranged weapon that isn't just a javelin. Gosh, at one point in my druid video I said druids can't use ranged weapons. I'm like, javelins, you can use javelins. Okay, fair enough. But I mean, hand crossbows or heavy crossbows are better than javelins. Like, don't skimp out on strength, dexterity and constitution as a fighter. It would not do you well. And in this situation here, if you've got any spare stats left over, and this isn't just for fighters, this is almost now for any class, pump up your wisdom. You want some defense against the nasty spells that like hold person or mind mastery from the Duergar, which force wisdom saving throws. If you've got spare ability points, I would usually pump up wisdom. Obviously, if you want to have ability points for some sort of role playing, go ahead. I'm not stopping you. It's your choice. But I'm not role playing your character for you. I don't know what ideas you've got in your head about what characters you want to create. So that covers character creation. I'm going to go and create a couple of fighters, perhaps a halfling and one fighter that has the protection fighting style, I think, just so I can show you. Actually, before I do that, I just want to go back to ability points. Just come to mind. If you want to become an eldritch knight, it would be a good idea to have a decent intelligence, although there is a particular item that can boost that for you, because the eldritch knight spells depend on your intelligence modifier. So perhaps this would be a good stat spread for an eldritch knight. We've got 3 14s and a 16, look at that. 2 8s though, so you're going to be a little bit weak in conversations that require charisma checks, and your wisdom saving throws or wisdom skill checks aren't going to be so good. But you've got to make some sacrifice somewhere when we build a character. We've got to level 2 and we get more hit points as is normal, and we get action surge. Possibly one of the best abilities you get as a fighter. Push yourself beyond your limits, gain an extra action. This is amazing, absolutely amazing. In the early levels it's not as good. You get to attack one more time. You can use a scroll or whatever. You get one more action. When you get to level 5, it means you can make 2 extra attacks. I'll show you again later. And eventually, if we can multi-class, it means we can cast another spell. And Action Surge, it doesn't say, but comes back on a short rest, so you can use it pretty much every battle. So at level 3, we get to make our subclass choice. So we have Battlemaster or Eldritch Knight. I'm going to talk through Battlemaster first, then Eldritch Knight. So we get, if we pick Battlemaster, we get 4 superiority dice, which we can use to use one of these maneuvers. We get to pick 3 maneuvers out of 6 that we've got currently. Who knows if they're going to increase that in the future? So we have, first of all, Menacing Attack. Spend a superiority die to make an attack that deals an additional 1d8 damage and possibly frightens the target. If the target is frightened, they have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, and it doesn't say it here, but they don't actually move either. The movement speed is usually 0. Quite decent, helps debuff the enemy. Pushing Attack, spend a superiority die to make an attack that deals an additional 1d8 damage. Just like before, we have this extra damage with these maneuvers, and possibly pushes the target back 15 feet. This is really good because in the game we have lots of verticality to places to knock people off, and if you do manage to push someone back, then that saves you a bonus action of shoving. Now what it's down in the actions, so I'm going to go back to Menacing Attack for a second. It requires a wisdom saving throw to resist this. The DC is set by the highest out of either strength or dexterity. I'll just show you later. Pushing Attack requires a strength saving throw to not be pushed back. Then we also have Rally, expend a superiority die to bolster the resolve of a friendly creature. It gains an additional 8 hit points, temporary hit points, which is fine. Sorry, it's not temporary hit points. It says hit point maximum increased by 8. Only for 5 turns, so it doesn't last for like a whole rest or something. It's pretty much for that battle. It uses a bonus action though, which is nice. None of the other maneuvers use a bonus action, and this can help someone from dying. Basically, it's kind of a preemptive heal. It's okay, but it's the only one that doesn't deal extra damage, or deal any damage in fact. So I think a lot of people avoid this, but I think it's a nice utility to have. We also have, let's turn these off so it looks a bit nicer. We also have Riposte. When a creature misses you with a melee attack, so to use this more often, you do want to have a high armor class. You can expend a superiority die to retaliate with a powerful attack that deals an additional 1d8 damage. This is a reaction. Now this doesn't have any extra effects like the other maneuvers do that are ones that have attacks, but the point here is that you're weaponizing your reaction. So when it's not your turn, you can actually attack someone, which is strong. Personally, there's one thing I dislike about it compared to the other maneuvers, in that it takes a superiority die whether you hit or miss with that attack in using your reaction, which makes sense because you're able to get the opportunity of an extra attack. That's what you're using the superiority die for. But with Menacing Attack, Pushing, Trip and Disarming Attack, if you miss with your attack, you do not use up the superiority die. And that means if you miss, it's fine. You just get to try again next turn or whenever you want to. Anyway, Riposte is actually strong. Having an attack on your reaction is something that not many classes get to do. Trip Attack, spend a superiority die to make an attack that deals an additional 1d8 damage, just like the other ones, and possibly knocks a target prone, which is really good. Attacks against a creature that is prone have advantage if they're made within 10 feet. Now, this is different to 5th edition. In 5th edition, it's 5 feet. And if you're not within 5 feet, you actually have disadvantage on the attack roll. That doesn't seem to happen here. We'll see. The annoying thing is that the graphic doesn't tell us that we've got advantage if we're within 10 feet. It's in the dice roll in the combat log, but it's not in what we see. The other good thing about knocking someone prone is if they're a wizard, they're concentrating, it will break concentration. Also, if they're prone, they can't move, they can't take actions, bonus actions, or reactions. They basically have to spend half the movement speed to stand up. Anyway, that's very strong and requires a strength saving throw to resist. And target can't be huge or larger in size. So you got to pick your targets carefully. And lastly, disarming attack. I really quite like this one. Spend a superiority die to make an attack that deals an additional 1d8 damage like all the rest and possibly forces the target to drop the weapons they are holding. This is amazing against other fighter types, melee types. You use disarming attack, they drop their weapons, you pick them up, then they're hitting you with their fists, doing maybe 4 damage, 5 damage if they're strong. I really like disarming attack. There aren't any particularly bad maneuvers here. I think most people would say Rally is probably the weakest one. And in terms of dishing out damage, I completely agree, because all of these do an additional 1d8 damage and have some of the side effects, or you get to use your attack with your reaction. If you're trying to be a bit more supportive, maybe pick Rally. Otherwise, pick the ones that sound best to you. People will say that Riposte is the best. Other people will say that Menacing Attack is amazing. Menacing Attack used to be, in previous patches, really good, because when someone was afraid, they'd run away and you'd get a free reaction opportunity attack against them. It doesn't happen anymore, so it's not as good as it used to be. I personally often pick Disarming Attack almost as an automatic thing, because there aren't many skills and abilities that can disarm enemies, especially when we kind of spam these maneuvers, because we can use, it just takes a short rest to replenish these superiority dice. So pick whichever ones you want. I'm going to make 2 Battlemasters and 1 Eldritch Knight, because I'm going to use Lae'zel. And talking about Eldritch Knights, we get to pick 2 cantrips. I've already spoken a bit about these with the High Elf. These require intelligence. The attack rolls or spell save DCs are based on intelligence if they have one. As I said before, Blade Ward can be okay if you use it before combat, often a waste of a turn in combat, to be honest. Firebolt is okay, it's got utility. As an attacking cantrip, it can set fire to things, which is often good. Like if you don't have Dark Vision, Minor Illusion, Mage Hand for the utility spells. I would really avoid these attacking spells unless you pick up the Warped Headband of Intellect, which puts your intelligence up to 17, and then you're going to be pretty decent with them. Then we get to pick 2 spells that are either Abjuration or Evocation. The choices here for Eldritch Knight, I wouldn't use Mage Armor. You can just get armor that does that. I'd say that's a complete waste. I probably wouldn't pick Protection from Evil and Good either, because it requires concentration. You're going to be taking lots of concentration checks, Constitution saving throws. Witchbolt isn't that great unless you've got a wet target, in which case obviously I can see why you'd use that, which then kind of leaves Burning Hands, Chromatic Orb, Magic Missile and Thunderwave. Magic Missile I think is always good to have on people, because there are times where you just want to do that last bit of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage. This is fairly reliable in doing that, and then you can kill them. Or you want to spread damage out across several people, force lots of Constitution saving throws. Generally, Magic Missile is a good kind of backup to have in certain situations. The other one I like to have as an Eldritch Knight is Thunderwave, or maybe Burning Hands, because you are going to be up close. You're going to be getting up in the face of enemies, and the more people you have around you, the more people you can get in the area of effect of these 2 spells. Thunderwave has the pushback, which is amazing. Again, I talked about that with pushing attack. We've got the verticality in the game. It's really good. We then get to pick 1 spell from the wizard spell list of any school of magic. And quite a few good spells here, because not all of them are attacking spells. There's quite a few kind of utility ones. So Featherfall is okay. It's nice to have someone with Featherfall, although I'd probably give it to Gale, to be honest. False Life, because you're going to be taking hits. It's nice to have temporary hit points. Maybe Expeditious Retreat if you need to run around a bit. I've got two fighters with a slower movement speed. I've got a halfling and a dwarf, so their movement speed is only 25 feet. Perhaps I want to give them this, or instead of that, just use Longstrider so that movement speed goes up by 10 feet until long rest. Lae'zel gets jump, and it's really good for a fighter. Other good options are spells that don't require attack rolls, so Sleep. We know exactly when we can put someone to sleep. You have to be careful with the turn order who you're putting to sleep, because the enemies will wake each other up by shoving each other, so be very careful with that. Disguise Self, if we're talking about roleplay or kind of utility outside of combat, you want to turn into a drow or Githyanki, they get loads of dialogue options. Colour Spray, again, a bit like Sleep, it requires a certain number of hit points, except there's a ring that does this, so I'd probably avoid that. Grease is great, can make people fall prone, slows them down, controls the battlefield, people will jump around it, and maybe you can set it on fire. And then if you want an attacking cantrip, take an attacking cantrip. Find Familiar, I personally don't like using this on an Eldritch Knight or Arcane Trickster because it uses a spell slot every time you want to resummon a familiar, and they're fragile. But it can work. I've been using it with an Arcane Trickster in my live streams recently. Fog Cloud if you want to be hiding inside it as well. There's mostly good choices here. Perhaps I would pick Sleep. The more people you have with Sleep, the more chances you get to use it. I wouldn't pick True Strike. Maybe pick Blade. Maybe Friends if you're going to be speaking to people. Well, I've got a halfling in my party though, so I'd probably pick Light. Except this is the fighter without intelligence, so actually I'm going to make this particular fighter a battlemaster. I'll make Lazella battlemaster, make her pick the bottom 3. Okay, so we get to level 4, more hit points as always, and we get to have an ability score improvement or a feat. As I've said in all my other guide videos, it's always going to be a good thing if you attack your attacking stat up to the next even number. So this fighter's dexterity is 16, I can make it, well, that's constitution, make it 18. He's now more likely to hit, do more damage, better with ranged weapons, and also because of dexterity we get extra bonus to dexterity saving throws and initiative. It's just good all round. But let's say you don't want to be boring and effective, you want to be interesting and still probably effective. I tend to avoid athlete on most characters unless you've got an odd number in strength or dexterity and really nothing else to pick. I would avoid athlete. Defensive Duelist is kind of interesting. It gives you a use of a reaction. You do need to be wielding a finesse weapon, which works well for this fighter because they've got a high dexterity. I haven't given him a rapier yet, but I should. That is a finesse weapon. And then what does it do, Defensive Duelist? Well, when you're attacked with a melee attack, you can use a reaction to increase your armor class by proficiency bonus, currently +2, but at level 5 it goes to +3. And I think that does last for the whole turn, possibly causing the attack to miss. So this uses your reaction. Now this dude is also the one who's got a protection fighting style, which is another use of reaction. It's kind of slightly double-edged. You've got 2 ways, extra ways to use a reaction, which means you're quite likely to use it every turn because, do you know what, quite often reactions go unused. However, you don't want to kind of overburden your reaction. You don't want to have too many things that use a reaction because then you won't be able to use everything that you want to use. But for this character, perhaps Defensive Duelist is an okay choice. Dual Wielder, if you want to use weapons that aren't light and are dual wieldable. Bear in mind, some weapons can't actually be dual wielded, such as tridents and spears. The game just doesn't allow you to, even if you have this feat. But most single-handed, one-handed weapons, you can dual wield them. You could then dual wield 2 quarterstaves or 2 warhammers, 2 long swords, 2 of anything that use this one hand. And the other nice thing is you do get a +1 bonus to armor class, which almost makes up for not having a shield, because a shield is +2 armor class. This gives an extra +1, so you're only down by 1 AC, but then you get to attack with 2 weapons that could be particularly strong. So if you want to be dual wielding, I would say do pick this feat. Great Weapon Master, I think lots of you know about this. This is a great feat for someone who's using a great weapon, such as Lazelle quite often does. She has great weapon fighting also. So it has kind of 2 parts to it. The first one doesn't require a heavy weapon or a 2-handed weapon. When a melee attack lands a critical hit or kills a creature, you can make another melee attack as a bonus action that turn. You can be using any melee weapon and you will get this extra bonus action attack, which is really good. Then the other thing is you take a -5 penalty to attack rolls that you make with heavy weapons. This time it does specify heavy weapons. And if you do that, you get an extra 10 damage. Now, doing this all the time without any sort of bonus to attack isn't generally a good idea because a -5 penalty is a severe penalty. However, if you can get advantage, such as hiding, or you've got a Wolfheart Barbarian, or a wolf is used exposing bite, or you've got some other way of increasing your attack roll, this is like Bless, then maybe you can use this, because this 10 damage is quite a lot. It's a flat damage as well. If an enemy is held, you get automatic critical hits. If they are asleep, you get automatic critical hits. Just turn this on because that -5 means nothing. It's an automatic critical hit. You won't miss. You get an extra 10 damage. Bear in mind, this 10 doesn't get doubled in a critical hit. But the point is you still get this extra 10 damage. Anyway, if you're going to be using a heavy weapon, a 2-handed weapon, like a 2-handed sword or glaive or great axe, this is a good pick. We do not need to pick any of the armored feats because we're already proficient with all types of armor. The magic initiates, I tend to avoid these because maybe you can pick utility cantrips actually, such as Friends and Blade Ward. And then the problem is the spells. Which spell? How do you choose a spell that you use once a day? Some of them can work out quite well, such as Longstrider, because it lasts until your long rest, so you can permanently give someone Longstrider. Or Speak with Animals, you can have it for the whole long rest. or disguise stealth. So some of them can work. Personally, yeah, I tend to avoid these unless I've got a specific build in mind, or there's kind of something missing in my party. Perhaps I want someone to have guidance in the party without using a necklace. Then I can become like a fake paladin as a fighter and have resistance or light, which would be probably quite useful. And then for spells, perhaps bless, because bless doesn't depend on your wisdom ability at all, and you can help people out. Or healing word is good to have someone who can get someone up in a fix. So do take a look through the spells, see if there are any that you like. Again, guidance here. I wouldn't use cantrips that depend on your wisdom or any other modifier. Good berry's okay because that just heals a fixed amount. For example, if you've got a high charisma, because you want to have a fighter with a high charisma, perhaps you can pick one of these. Again, but you have to pick a spell that you can cast just once per day. I mean, false life maybe, because temporary hit points last until they're used up. Martial Adept. I've done this once before and I've really liked it. So what does it do? You learn 2 manoeuvres from the battlemaster archetype. Now, you've got to consider you already know 3, so then you can pick 2 more, leaving just 1 maneuver that you can't then use, and you receive an additional superiority die. For other classes, I really avoid this because having just 1 superiority die is kind of useless. You get to use it once in a short rest, and you have, But here, we've already got 4. This puts us up to 5. So you can really, almost every attack, just spam. Use these. Do this extra 1d8 damage. This is strong. I do like it. Mobile, I've said this for many other classes now. Mobile's just good all round for almost any class. Especially for this character who's a halfling who's got a lower movement speed. It'd be good to improve their movement speed somehow. Plus then you can attack someone and run away without taking opportunity attacks. Former, if you want it, take it. Doesn't really help the fighter particularly. Shield Master. Sounds good. Gain a +2 bonus to dexterity saving throws when wielding a shield. This dude will be wielding a shield. If a spell forces you to make a dexterity saving throw, you can use your reaction to shield yourself and diminish the effect's damage. That sounds really good. At the moment though, we don't have too many spells cast against us that force dexterity saving throws and deal damage. However, in the future, we might have fireballs coming our way. Who knows? And at which point this would become very good, because what happens is on a failed saving throw, you only take half the damage, but if you succeed on the dexterity saving throw, you take no damage. Now this is actually worse than in 5th edition, because in 5th edition, I do believe, Shieldmaster allows you, if you make an attack, to use your bonus action to shove, but we can already shove with our bonus action for free. I'd say this isn't that good. If you want to take it, do consider just putting your dexterity up by 2, because that gives you a +1 bonus to dexterity saving throws, plus initiative, extra armor class if you're wearing light armor, bonus to attack rolls of finesse and ranged weapons. It's probably going to do you better. Skilled, I often avoid it, because we've got enough people in our party. I don't tend to need it. Tough, perhaps, if you really want to build a character with a lot of hit points, tough is what you need. But I would also consider Constitution +2. Although your hit points don't go up by as much, you then get +1 bonus to your Constitution saving throws, which you will be making every now and again. So what am I actually going to do for this guy? I'm not going to be boring. I'm not going to put dexterity up by 2. I'm going to do something I don't usually do just to show it off. It's defensive duelist. Don't get a chance to show this off very much. So that's what I'm going to do with this fighter. I'm going to quickly show you the Eldritch Knight at level 4 as well, because it's a bit different. You get to pick one other spell that's in the Abjuration or in the Abjuration or Evocation schools. I'm going to pick something a bit different, Chromatic Orb, let's say. And then what you can do, and this shouldn't really be happening, is you can replace one of the spells you already know with any spell from the Wizard Spellbook in level 1. Really, we should only be able to replace Thunderwave and Magic Missile with an Evocation or Abjuration spell. This happens for the Arcane Trickster as well. We can just replace, let's say Thunderwave with Tasha's Hideous Laughter, an Evocation spell with an enchantment spell. So if you really want more of the other wizard spells, when you level up, take care to replace spells that you already know. And since I'm here, this is Dual Tav. She's going to be dual. I want her to be dual wielding, so I'm going to pick Dual Wielder. And at level 5, we don't see anything flashy up here. No icons, but we do get extra attack. So using our action, we can pretty much make 2 attacks. Our proficiency bonus does go up by 1. That happens for all classes when we get to level 5, which means your attack rolls go up and things like spell save DCs. But otherwise, nothing else to choose here. Unless you're an Eldritch Knight, at which point you can also then replace one of your spells. You don't get to pick a new spell like you did at level 4, but you could switch out, say, perhaps I haven't got any use out of Chromatic Orb and then I want one of these others. Perhaps I do want Featherfall because actually I don't have Gale in my party. Before I show you how the Battlemaster manoeuvres and have a look at the Eldritch Knight work, I just want to say and give a shout out to all of the members. I started up membership about a month ago at the time of recording. I just want to say thank you to those of you who have signed up. So we've got 3,14, Steve B, Matea, SVS, back swiped off you bees, like magic, Lixnix, Mark Rainbow, Mike Annoyed, Brett Hughes, Samir Korich, and Yenqing Chen. And all of these people have been an active part on my Discord channel as well, which is starting to grow, and I'm getting ideas from there. We're getting some nice discussions. So if you're interested in that, please check out the description below. Now, after that little plug, we're going to go and check out how the subclasses work and fighters work against the Spectator here, and see if we can handle it or not. So I'm going to focus on the battlемasters first, which is Lae'zel and then Protectav here. Now, before I move anywhere, we'll notice that we've actually got fighting style protection because Lae'zel is standing next to the fighter here, the halfling who's got the protection fighting style. So is Shadowheart, in fact. So even though he's standing behind them, any attacks against these two will have disadvantage while they stay standing next to Protectav. So I did say earlier that Githyanki are a good choice for fighters because look at this, we've got Misty Step. Because it's a long way to get to the Spectator, and Lae'zel is really good. She's got a good strength, so she's not so good with her ranged weapons. So what we're going to do is cast Misty Step. See if we can get closer. There we are. Now, she's currently wielding Hammercraft. I'll go through some items after showing the subclasses. And so just want to show off a few things. So we've got the potential to use something like this trip attack. 16% chance. That is awful. The reason for that is twofold. One, we've got disadvantage because Lae'zel doesn't have dark vision and I haven't cast light. I maybe should have used Shadowheart just now to cast light on her. Oh well. And I got Great Weapon Master all in because of the feat she took. So let's come to passives. Let's turn off this Great Weapon Master all in. So that's a -5 penalty. So with that we're at 42%. That isn't actually great. Right now, unless I get Shadowheart to... Oh, I think I can actually do something here. So this is not linked to the fighter, but I think it's a nice, neat little trick. I'm going to need to grab some item for her. So what's going to happen... Oh, it's not going to work because it requires 2 actions to do this. But I'm going to show you the theory behind it anyway. So what we can do is cast light on an object. Now, unfortunately, that's used her action. And then the next turn, I can actually throw the item down towards Lae'zel. So there is light there. I wonder if I shove it, it's not going to go anywhere near enough. So perhaps I can do that on my next turn. But let's stand next to this fighter and try and have the protection fighting style. Right, let's see what the Spectator does. We're just going to try and hit the Spectator. I mean, there's no reason not to. I'm going to try and use trip attack. Let's have a look. We missed. We're likely to miss. I did 3 bludgeoning damage there because of the weapon she's holding. And I get to try again. And notice I've still got 4 superiority dice. Let's see if this works. It does. And it didn't do a huge amount of damage, right? But hit for 14 bludgeoning damage. We did an average amount on 2d6, an average amount on 1d8. Look at that. Reroll because the first attack was a 1. So this great weapon fighting style is definitely better in Baldur's Gate 3 than 5th edition. And we had 1 reroll here because we rolled a 1. Unfortunately, the second roll was also a 1, but that happens, right? It couldn't have been any worse than 1. So, hey, free reroll there. Now, unfortunately, the Spectator managed to pass its saving throw against trip attack melee. Now, I'm not quite certain what's going on here. I've tried to work this out ahead of time. Tried a few attacks on a few different fighters here. So, for the DC of trip attack, it says 8 plus 3 equals 13. 8 plus 3, right. I think most of us can know that 8 plus 3 is actually 11. So there's an extra 2 coming from somewhere. And no matter what I change, I think that's almost a set extra 2 because it's not from her strength, because that would be plus 3. It's not from her dexterity, that would be plus 1. Maybe it's from her constitution, perhaps. It's not her intelligence, that's plus 0, and her wisdom's only plus 1 as well. So it's the only ability that lines up is constitution there. I'm not going to use action surge because my chance to hit the Spectator is really bad. Now, also, I want to point out, in the reaction screen, one of her battlemaster manoeuvres was Riposte. And here it is. You actually can use it as a reaction, so I don't have to use it the first time it hits me. Let's see what the Spectator does. Ow, that hurt. Oh, use my opportunity attack there. Who got paralyzed there? Just Shadowheart, that's fine. Alright, are we going to be able to create any light? I'm not sure we are. The dwarf is fine. Now, target's obscured. Now, I've given this fighter, who's the Eldritch Knight, the Amulet of Misty Step. So actually, she can jump in there as well. Perhaps what she can do is take these leather boots with her over here, and then she'll drop them off next turn. Or this turn even. Sorry, this turn. She doesn't need this dark vision, this light, but other people do. So this is the dual wielder. I put her strength up to 18. I did use the hag's hair here to get her strength up to 18. That's now 75% chance to hit. Now she isn't a battlemaster, so I can't actually use any maneuvers. But we've got these spells, which could come in useful. I've made sure dual wielding is off. Just going to start whacking away. Why not? Let's try and use Concussive Smash. Daze makes it easy to hit them. Let's use Action Surge now. Why not? I'm going to use Action Surge. Just want to point out I can now use spells if I wanted to. Colour Spray isn't going to work here. Maybe Shocking Grasp just to show you. She's got a decent chance to hit because the Spectator is dazed and I gave her the Warped Headband of Intellect. But if we use a spell, we cannot get a second attack. Now this is the fighter who's got good dexterity. Let's see if we can shoot this Spectator from ranged. Alright, outside normal range, to make sure we get a bit closer. Now normal range is disadvantage. Outside normal range is disadvantage. The high ground is kind of only +2. So if I come forward as far as possible, hopefully we'll get within range. If not, I've just messed this up. Ah, it's about the same chance anyway, right? Because we're not attacking from shadows anymore. We can use our battlemaster manoeuvres with a ranged attack. So let's try, I don't know, menacing attack. See if we can stop the Spectator. Frightened. And again, the save DC here is 13. It says intelligence, which I don't really think has happened because his intelligence is 8, which would be -1, but it still says 13. His constitution is +3. I think it's just a fixed DC at the moment of 13. I can't really tell if that's bugged or not. Like I said, I've used different characters. There's no stat or anything that seems to be in common causing the DC to be 13. Anyway, I've used one attack. We can use another Battlemaster maneuver if we want on the second attack. Unfortunately, because of this giant rock in the way and my lack of movement speed, I can't actually see Dawn here. Which means I'm going to attack the Spectator again. And just to show you, pushing attack ranged. Hopefully it works, might not. Yeah, you know, it misses. But I didn't lose a superiority die. That's fine, that's all good. And just for the sake of it, let's use Rally. Who looks like they're in trouble? Lae'zel. Unfortunately, Lae'zel. Oh no, you're right here. Good, good, good. Right. And so when it comes to Lae'zel's turn, in fact, it's strange. It says hit point maximum increased by 8, but really, this is the same symbol usually used for temporary hit points. Anyway, now Lae'zel is a little bit hurt. I showed you this at the beginning. During character creation, we've got second wind used as a bonus action. And it's going to do 1d10 plus 5 because 5 is her fighter level. She got 11. That's fine. That's pretty average. Not too upset with that. So we're going to go in. Maybe we should attack Dawn this time. Easier to hit. More likely to die. And actually in this fight, sometimes if you damage these guys, they turn to your side. Like you've knocked the charm out of them. So we're going to run in here now. 75%. I like those chances. Right, I'm going to try and trip attack. I think the Spectator might be immune to this anyway. Yeah, it's immune to prone. 20 damage. That's pretty good. Look at that. Reroll. Although I'm not sure what was rerolled, actually. Maybe one was turned into 4 or 6. Who knows? And also just want to show there was no reroll here. Alright, so we're going to go again. And now is a good time to use Action Surge. Comes back on a short rest. Disarming attack. Now I can't use disarming attack on enemies who don't have a weapon. So I can't actually use it on the Spectator. He doesn't have a weapon in his main hand. So I could, well, I'm too far away to use it on anyone else now. Which means then, do you know what? I'm just going to go back to using trip attack. I just want the extra damage. I'm going to short rest after this battle. There's one. Let's go again. We missed, but we can just try again next turn. Shadowheart is paralyzed, which is why she didn't do anything. Alright, back to the Eldritch Knights and say Arcane Trickster them. So, what can we do as an Arcane Trickster? Like, see, we've only got 3 spell slots. Level 1 spells currently compared to just attacking with our weapons. Generally not as good. Could use Thunder Wave, but I'm going to catch Lae'zel in that as well, and maybe even the boots. So we don't have to use a spell. I tried to use Shock and Grasp last time. Probably not the best use. But, actually, I've just realised, Isway here. We hurt him. Should come to our side. And we do a bit more damage to the Spectator. Oh, that one didn't work. Not sure why. That usually works, but maybe it's just a percentage chance. Not too sure. Now, I'm going to risk taking an opportunity. Oh, no. The days, they can't take opportunity attacks. So, offhand attack. Whack. That's it. Now, I rolled a 1 and 1d8 there. But because I've got 2 weapon fighting, I've got +4, got 5, thankfully. Otherwise, that would have been a 1. So now we've got someone else on our side. I think this fighter here is just going to make his way towards the rest of the fight. Doesn't need to be standing out here. So let's use pushing. No, let's use menacing attack again. It's actually quite useful. And then pushing attack. Easy stuff. Look at that 21 damage. Where's that come from? That's just maximum damage. What a 10 on 1d10 and an 8 on 1d8. Absolutely perfect. Let's actually just show you. Attempt to show you anyway. Disarming attack on his way here. He's got fighting style protection, kind of funny because he's an ally of the halfling who's down here, oddly. Let's move him out the way. So disarming attack. Might actually kill him. Yeah. That weapon would have been, well, it was dropped if he was knocked out of his hand. If it wasn't, it would just be on his body still. Wouldn't have been on the floor. We'll take all of that. And that's effective in combat. Let's go see Dawn. So I'm going to get into another fight and then perhaps try and show you more of the maneuvers. And if I can, the lamented power. So we've come across the Bulette. We're going to try and work together as a team. In the turn that I had after the Bulette turning up, I actually cast Featherfall. So why is this working as a team? Because, well, Lae'zella's now providing light for herself, more importantly, for the halfling here. So if we can actually get him a bit closer, and I'm just going to jump to get as close as I can. There we are. It's not a great chance to hit, but it's about as good as we're going to get against the Bulette. It's actually got quite a high armor class. So let's try and show you pushing attack, since I haven't shown it yet. It's not actually a very good position to use this. It's just the Bulette's just going to go back a tiny bit. One of the nice things about the battlemaster maneuvers is that kind of one of the things we're looking for, apart from just the effect, is actually just the extra damage. The extra 1d8. Okay, it did a nice amount of damage. 16. I'm not sure it's really worth using action surge here, unless I know I'm going to be taking a short rest after the battle, because it's not going to make a huge difference right now, I don't believe. And now Lae'zelle's going to start laying into this thing. Do you know what she should have done? She should have probably used Concussive Smash first. Well, maybe Backbreaker, try and make it prone. Didn't work, passed its save. Let's see, it passed its saving throw. DC again here, it's 8 plus 13 equals... 8 plus 3 equals 13. Don't really know where that's coming from, to be honest. Yeah, again, I'm not going to use action search here. I don't think we're very likely to hit it. She's just going to stay up here. Alright, it hit. Lae'zelle, sadly, it means she didn't get to use Riposte. We're back to our turn again. So this time, since we've got a nice cleric, we're going to use Bless. Let's get these 3 fighters blessed up. Much more likely to hit. Right, let's see what we can do. Now, unfortunately, we maybe try and Backbreaker. Oh, look at that, 70% chance to hit. So at the moment, I've got dual wielding on. I'm going to turn it off. It's this tiny little diamond, or R, turn it on and off. If you don't turn it off, you'll automatically use your offhand attack, well, for an attack. Your bonus action for an attack. I just want to do one at a time. Okay, let's try Dazed. Didn't work. Now I can choose whether to use my bonus action if I want. I do. May as well try. A little bit of damage. Again, I've rolled a 1 and 1d8. Not that great. This time we'll try Trip Attack. Try and knock this thing on its ass. Didn't work. We'll try again, because we can. And this time I really want to knock it down. Try and get advantage against it. So I think it's worth trying to stack these attacks. Now I've got 1 bonus action. I know some of you don't approve, and I understand why. I'm going to give myself advantage on this attack. Still missed. Maybe I deserve that. So we're down to 1 fighter here. Now he's got the protection fighting style. I think it'd be a good idea to get in there. See if we can protect at least 1 person. In fact, what would be best is if I go back to Dwarf, cancel her turn, and go... Oh, come on, you can reach it. Go stand next to... Yeah, we've got protection fighting style now. Stand next to this fighter. And this is something you would probably want to do if you've taken this fighting style. We're going to try... Menacing attack once. He keeps passing its saving throws. Fair enough, we can't win them all. Pushing attack. That's a miss, just because I want to show you as much as I can. And look at that, I've got defensive duelist on. This was from the feat. It's an actual reaction I've told it to ask. So the description isn't actually up to date because it just says the first attack in the turn. But ooh, nice amount of damage there. Try one more time. The Bulette might run away soon. Dig its way out. Alright, let's see what it does. I keep sitting Lazel. She keeps not getting to use Riposte, which is a bit of a shame. I'm going to try my offhand attack first. Because if I hit, I can then use Colour Spray. And she's got Action Surge. Sleep would be very useful here. I'm going to wait for her to use her action. I think this guy's just going to wail away. I'm out of superiority dice now on this dude. May as well try and use Piercing Strike. Oh, critical hit. Right, this is where having sleep is really good. It's a bit over the top. And I was mentioning this earlier. Now that the Bulette is asleep, let's turn on Great Weapon Master all in. Because we're going to have a critical hit. Now, this alone, this attack with the critical hit would just kill it. But I'm going to take a short rest after this. Let's see how much damage we can do in one go. I forgot a bonus action. If I was really needing to, I could perhaps try and dip my weapon in something or use some poison. I'm not going to do that. I don't have any of that ready. Bit over the top. What was that? 32 bludgeoning damage. Good stuff. So we got to reroll some of these. 4d6. We got to reroll any 1s or 2s. The bludgeoning got a reroll. Sadly, it was a 2. A plus 10, like I said, on a critical hit. That 10 doesn't get doubled. It's not really much of a problem. An extra 10 damage is amazing. So 32, and because it was bleeding already, we got an extra 2 damage there at the end. It doesn't really make any difference whatsoever. Pretty good working together there. Taken quite a lot of damage. So we use second winds. Get back 13, actually. That's pretty good. Maximum was 15. Take a short rest, almost up to maximum, and if you really wanted to, I really wouldn't here, but you could use second wind again after a short rest. Right, I'm going to go fight the Kuo Toa, and hopefully I can get some of this riposte action going and some of the defensive duelist action going. And maybe, with the disadvantage from the protection fighting style, we'll help riposte happen, and then we'll see if we can use psionic pull, which is the tadpole power. And then I'll show you what items I've got. Now, before going to fight these Kuo Toa, I'm going to do a few bits of preparation. So I'm going to cast Mage Hand, just because it will provide an extra target, an extra body on the field that will take up one attack, at least one attack. They can miss the Mage Hand, which then takes up more, which is great. I've thought about casting Featherfall, but she's only got 1 spell slot left. This is one of the downsides of Eldritch Knights at the moment. Really very few spell slots. Also, I skipped my mind earlier, we don't have all the spells that we want for an Eldritch Knight. Mostly looking at you, Shield. Shield would be a great spell to have. Uses a reaction, puts up your armor class by 5 for that turn, causing attacks to miss. It's all really good. Right, Lazel, because she's a Githyanki, not because she's a particular fighter, I'm going to get her to cast Jump. Because there's actually a few Kuo Toa all around the place, so she can jump around to go and get them. Shadowheart, now I could basically go and auto-win this just by having Spirit Guardians and walking in the middle of them. I'm not going to get her to prepare anything. And this guy doesn't really have anything to prepare, so we're gonna go and fight these dudes. I'm not gonna hide an attack. It's obviously an effective method, a good thing to use, but I just want to start a fight. They're gonna be upset, and here we go. Right, so this is the protection fighting style fighter. He's also got defensive duelist. I would assume he's going to take some attacks now. Now we can't quite get there, so I just want to show you psionic pull. So this is the lamented tadpole power, and you can tell that when we use it because we get these tentacles coming up around us when we highlight and click on the power, and there is a mind flare at our feet. It's not really very nice, if I'm honest. So what does it do? It uses a bonus action, and it says pull 1 creature object towards you. No saving throw. Range is 60 feet, which is actually really good. Now it doesn't pull it all the way towards you. It pulls depending on the situation really, but about 5 to 10 feet. Now Brual there is a bit further away, which actually means he'll come a bit closer because of the extra height. So let's say I want to bring Pool Drip the Zealous towards me. And there they go. And now I can get right in there, get stuck in there. 14 hit points is close enough to kill in one go. Let's try pushing attack. This actually probably isn't the best because he goes out of range. Let's not do something silly. Let's use menacing attack. He's bleeding, so if we're hit, we'll do an extra 2 damage, which isn't taken into account with the damage there. Oh, look at that, 15, bam. Done. Unfortunately, I can't quite reach, which is really annoying, which is why having an extra 5 feet of movement speed would be really nice. Alright, so I don't have much of a choice. I could maybe use Action Surge and Dash, but I'm just going to attack with a ranged weapon. Chances aren't very good. This Kuo Toa is too close, but this one's not. And... oh, no, that was the wrong one. Let's use the ranged pushing attack. I don't think we're going to push anyone anywhere dangerous. Let's just try and kill that one. Perfect. Did 18 damage. It had 18 hit points. Let's see if any of these attack this fighter with defensive duelist. Ah, there it is. It says defensive duelist should really be on melee attacks. Don't know if it says it here. Protection doesn't have defensive duelist here, which is a bit strange. Maybe it's because I've got it up here. But when we were at the level up screen, it did say melee attack. Anyway, Kuo Toa Hunter used ranged attack. Okay, unprotective. Needs 19 to hit. They rolled a 24. Defensive duelist is only going to put my armor class up to 22. I'm going to use it anyway because it doesn't use any resource. Well, I use my reaction. And it should make my armor class now 22 for the rest of the turn. So we did still hit him. It's going to take a while before I can look at this combat log without it moving around. Look at that. That Kuo Toa just hit my mage hand instead of me. Brilliant. Even though it was only 1 damage. Who cares? So, right. The attack roll was 19. Oh, that's all a bit strange. Right, it says equals 21. It says that they got 24 in that pop-up. Oh, right. It says -3 here. So it took -3 away from that attack. The other one here. So this is a bit different. It's differently to how it used to. This attack roll didn't have the -3. Defensive duelist is just for a single attack now. That really isn't how it used to work. So they're all going to attack now. He doesn't get to use defensive duelist again because he's already used his reaction. Let's just hit. Let's see these attacks. Right, we don't get any minuses from defensive duelist there. Which we shouldn't really be expecting anyway. And also, I haven't said it yet. During fights, make sure you switch back to your melee weapon because it means you can use your opportunity attack. If I left her with her bow, these Kuo Toa could run straight past and there would be no opportunity attack. Bual's coming. He's a little bit dangerous. Especially when he's got bloodlust like that. Right. Lae'zel is going to come and cause problems. I'm going to turn off Great Weapon Master. All in. I need her to try and kill someone. Show you. Oh, this isn't going to work out, is it? Because I need a free bonus action. She's never going to kill Bual here. Unless she gets a critical hit. Let's try a critical hit. Who knows? 1. No. Just for the sake of it. Oh, critical hit. Perfect. Right, now I can use a bonus action to attack. Oh, look at that, Lae'zel. I should have probably had a critical miss. Probably should have used some of these. If I had, Bual could have been killed there. So they did use her action surge, but we've taken Bual down so much. Right, back to this guy. I'm not going to use defensive duelist because I want to use protection fighting style. And perhaps if I try and kill one of these. That'll allow Bual to attack one of those two there. I'm going to stand behind, even though he'll get an opportunity attack against him. I'm not going to use it because I want to use... oh, right. Rolled a 9, needs a 19, they rolled a 15. It's going to miss anyway. Another one. No. Going to come and stand here to see if we can use protection fighting style. And why not? Let's use rally. Laser. Dual tab's a little bit hurt. I really need Lae'zel to show off Riposte. Well, Kuo Toa, right, missed protective. Didn't have disadvantage. That protection fighting style didn't see. It does normally work. Yeah, it's very strange. It didn't seem to work, even though we had a reaction. Right. Oh. Ah, perfect timing. Right, there's a reason I gave her the Helmet of Grip. Because she's dual wielding, so now she can take 2 offhand attacks. Let's go for it. That's from the Intransigent Warhammer. On a critical miss, it makes everyone prone and knocks them all back. Right, we've now got to go and choose someone. Let's just come here. Let's try and finish this one off. Whack. And why not? Another one bites the dust, as we say. Good stuff. Who cares? We're charging in. We might lose some hit points. Oh, Lae'zel might just get pushed off the side there. Right, Lae'zel, we need someone to actually miss you, but we've only got ranged attackers left. Right, she's got jump. And these guys are a bit annoying. This is one of the reasons jump is an amazing spell. Look at that, straight up here. No worries. And let's try disarming attack. It probably will kill this thing. Yeah. I've already used my bonus action, so I can't use it again. Disarming attack. Who cares about the obscured? Oh, they passed their saving throw. Sad times. Now, I don't have any great mobility with this guy. Best thing I've got is some gloves, which I'll show you in a second. He's already used his sonic pull, so I can't pull any of these Kuo Toa down. Just going to do this then. that jump. I'm going to use this jump. It's a free jump. May as well jump again. I won't get to attack. Oh, I've got action surge. Sorry, I've just missed that. May as well. This is why action surge is great. I've just spent a turn getting into position. I don't have to wait until next turn. I can push him off the side. Goodbye. We win. No, I haven't won yet, but pretty sure I will. I've run out of superiority dice now, which is a shame because I was going to try and push this one back as well. Offensive Duelists. Ooh, they've rolled a 20. They're going to hit us a critical hit. Let's see what happens. Oh no, that'll be after all the additions. Right. Miss. Maybe we can choose when we make an attack miss. Right, just ignore her. Can't quite make it over there. But I've got 2 bonus actions. Up to here. Bonk on the head. Yeah, we've got this. Easy. It does help I'm level 5 here, right? It's not like this is a particularly difficult fight anyway. Oh, I have to take a long rest. So I'll take a long rest. And also show you my items. In fact, I'll show my items now. So I've picked up various items. Do remember that I guess most of you aren't going to have more than 2 fighters in your party. Lae'zel plus maybe your Tav. And so I'm just going to look at the fighters here. I'm going to ignore Shadowheart. So Githyanki Halfplate gives you a decent armor class, especially if your dexterity is 14 or above. Same as Scale Mail +1, which is purchasable even in the Druid Grove. The Haste Helm can be alright. Gives you extra 10 feet movement speed for the first 3 turns, which is really good. Helps you get into position, which you really need as a fighter. These are just average things, these gloves and boots, because of running out of like really good things to show you. Silver Pendant. If you don't have Shadowheart, it's not so bad giving this to a fighter, but you could give this to anyone else. And the Everburn Blade, you pick this up on the Nautiloid, does decent damage, always gives extra 1d4 damage. I know some people do say, quite rightly, that you can dip your greatsword into fire. Fair enough, but I do want to be using my bonus action for jumping, for shoving, for casting Misty Step. It's not as if we've always got a bonus action free. Other two-handed weapons, which I haven't used yet, or you saw me using Hammercraft earlier, so this is really good because when you jump, you do 1d4 thunder damage. It's not a huge amount, but it is an AoE, and it's every time you jump. So if I'd given this to a fighter with 2 bonus actions, you can jump twice and do up to 2d4 damage. It's alright, it's good against lots of weak enemies, and it's just otherwise a maul. I haven't used the Susa Greatsword, but this silences enemies, silences target on hit. Amazing. Shuts down spellcasters completely. Very, very good choice. I've also got the Sword of Tyr, which is a +1 greatsword and gives you the ability to cast Shield of Faith, increasing armor class by 2. This is different now to how it was before. Let's just show you. So Lae'zel, let's cast Tyr's Protection. So she's got Shield of Faith, and if I just take it off, she loses Shield of Faith. We used to be able to swap that around, but we can't anymore. Other weapons, if you're a fighter with a high dexterity, and we're relying on finesse weapons, aside from Nia's Rapier, this is the best rapier we're going to get. I haven't picked too many items from deep into the Underdark, because by that point, you kind of finished most of Early Access and what you're watching this guide for. You know, you've probably done everything you need to do anyway. But the Rapier +1 is going to do the most damage at least. He's also got Giant Breaker, the best, I think the best heavy crossbow we've got. The weapon hits hard enough to send your target reeling for 2 turns, so if you hit, reeling creatures have a -1 penalty to attack rolls for each turn remaining. So if you hit them 3 times, and they get -6, or 6 turns left of reading, they're going to have -6 to attack, which is absolutely massive. And with a fighter with 2 attacks per turn, you can really, really rack up that reeling penalty, especially on bosses, and then they can really, really hit you. Over here, a couple of choices for one-handed weapons. Faithbreaker, we get from Draw Ragslin, has this nice absolute power thing, which weapon ability, which can knock enemies back. Also, the Intransigent Warhammer knocks nearby enemies prone after killing a target or landing a critical hit. I don't really think it's supposed to happen on a critical miss, but because it says critical hit, and when we highlight this, it says rolling a 20 on the 20-sided die. You know, probably a bug, but it's kind of cool that we can wield these. As for another ranged weapon, the Jolt Shooter. Now, this doesn't do the most amount of damage, but gives you lightning charges. Once you've got 5 of them, the next hit you do an extra 1d8 lightning damage, which you can combine with having a target that is wet, so it does double damage. Aside from the Haste Helm, other helms to look out for. Actually, just a helmet. It looks boring, but attacks can't land critical hit on wearer. That can be so important sometimes, because critical hits against you really hurt, and this avoids them. They can still hit you, but they just don't do that double damage. Especially when something like a Bulette or Minotaur, critical hits are really deadly. Otherwise, the Helmet of Grit, which is where the extra bonus action came from because she went beneath 50% hit points. And extra bonus action is just absolutely amazing. Plus dexterity saving throws +1. Also over here, the Helmet of Autonomy, we get proficiency in wisdom saving throws, which fighters don't get. So that's actually really, really useful. And then a few other bits of jewellery that I've got. The Moondrop Pendant, when the wearer has 50% hit points or less, they don't provoke opportunity attacks. If you go below 50% hit points, you can run around the battlefield, jump away, do what you need to do. And the Amulet of Misty Step, I've already shown you this, gives you Misty Step. Cast it once per day, or sorry, once per short rest. Pretty cool, gets you into position, or maybe out of it if you need to. Got the Ring of Colour Spray, which lets you cast Colour Spray once per battle, which then blinds an enemy for a turn. But bear in mind, this only lasts for one turn, so when it is their next turn, this condition leaves. So you've got the Ring of Poison Resistance, just good to be resistant to more damage. There is some poison damage around, so it's worth taking. Spurred Band, again, if we get down to 50% hit points, gain momentum, which then adds to our movement speed by 10 feet. I forgot to pick up Crusher's Ring, which increases your movement speed by 10 feet. Absolutely essential for any melee class. Fleet Fingers, once per turn, after the wearer dashes or takes a similar action, you can jump without using a bonus action. This is actually really quite useful if you've got a really high jump distance or you've used the spell jump, and then you can actually jump really far, kind of for free. You've had to dash though, you've used your action, but then you can jump and jump again, which is what I did with this guy. Jump twice in a turn. Having Mistress Grace on anyone is kind of useful, where we get Featherfall, just innate all the time when we want to use it. Uses a bonus action, gives you Featherfall, kind of like what's not to like, to be honest. The Warped Headband of Intellect for the Eldritch Knight. I took it off her for this time because I wanted to show the Helmet of Grit in conjunction with 2 offhand attacks. But this is good for an Eldritch Knight, but there's no protection or extra bonus to saving throws there. And I'm not going to go over all the different types of weapon. I've actually done that in previous videos. So if you really want to find out more about just the average weapon, please go watch those videos. Each of them was about around 10 minutes, maybe less than 10 minutes long. I don't have time to put all of those into this video. Or one thing I forgot to say also, dual wielding hand crossbows, especially with someone with the Helmet of Grit, because this allows you to use your bonus action for an basically offhand attack, as it were, offhand ranged attack. The only downside to hand crossbows is that their damage is 1d6 instead of 1d8 or 1d10, and their range is a bit lower, but you're using a bonus action to attack again, so that lower damage doesn't really matter. It makes up for it. Alright, let's get into one more fight and see if we can get Riposte going. I'm trying to increase Lazar's armor class as well if I can. Alright, before we start this fight, just going to go over a few things that can help you make your life a bit easier or improve yourself in combat. So if you are dual wielding, if you do dip your weapon in fire, it actually sets both weapons on fire. It's pretty cool. So they're going to do an extra 1d4 damage now, as well as setting fire to her ass apparently. And Lazar's already cast Shield of Faith. I'm actually going to wait one more turn. I'm going to attack these dudes. But before I do, Lazar is going to take an elixir of Heal Giant Strength. Puts your strength up to 21 until the next long rest. As people have commented in my other videos, you can stock up on these at the beginning of the game. Auntie Ethel sells them in the Druid Grove. Take a bunch of long rests or even just partial rests, and she replenishes them, go buy some more. And now, yeah, strength is 21 until the end of the long rest. So we're going to start. I'm not going to do any sort of, like I said, no sneaking here. Ow, poisoned. And as a dwarf, I had resistance against that. So let's, ooh, yeah. Let's just run through it, whatever. So 46 hit points. Shocking Grasp I could, but I've got my weapons on fire. Not bad. Nice, and took an offhand attack. Pretty good. Alright, 3 attacks per turn. Could be 4 if I had the Helmet of Grit and a low number of hit points. Could potentially have killed him. Critical miss. Lazar's got Shield of Faith. I'm really hoping. In fact, what we can try and do, since we've got Riposte, I'll try and walk away. Oh, he hit. He had to hit, didn't he? Right. Let's try someone else. Oh, am I going to get close enough to anyone else? I think I will be able to. Right. I'll take another opportunity attack. Everyone keeps hitting her. Why can't someone miss her? Right. I'm going to have to try again later. Let's try and kill this dude. Oh, so close. Easy. Bonus action. Whoosh. I want this guy to live. I do want to be able to use Riposte at some point. I'm just going to stand here, try and give the protection fighting style, and yeah, I don't think we'll kill him. Now I want that dude to actually attack Lazar. If we can. It probably will just run to the other people though. Nope, going for someone else. Right, what we're going to do then is send everyone away. And backbreaker. Ooh, unlucky. Let's try dazed. Or concussive smash, inflict dazed. Right, come on, Lazar. This Duergar's got to miss you. For goodness sake. I don't know if there's any other. Right, can she Misty Step to here? No, because there's all that crap in the way. Can we jump? Alright, yes, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to cast jump. So hopefully don't want to go in the poison. Get over to here. Try and get close enough. And absorb an opportunity attack. Alright, we've run out of movement speed, as I was kind of expecting to do. So let's try this. Little bit of a waste just to try and show you this, but otherwise I'm not going to get a chance to. Miss! Here we go! For the first time, someone's actually missed her. So I can try and use Riposte. Whack! Look at that, 19 damage. That was only a 7 on 2d6. And this is because of the Potion of Hill Giant Strength. We got a +5 instead of her usual +3. It's really, really racking up the damage there. Now, sadly, she's run out of any other actions to use. Ooh, tricky. Ah! Now, I don't know whether that Duergar has moved, but normally they don't move that much, I don't think. I'm gonna try this. Got him. Knocked him right over there as well. Could have done that if I wasn't an Eldritch Knight. Now, I don't have enough movement speed to get up here to attack, but I can jump in. I'd say this is quite a good time for action surge. But there's a chance of killing this Duergar. It's not a certainty whatsoever. I think it's worth trying. Because of the critical hit, the intransigent Warhammer knocked everyone around. Even though the intransigent Warhammer is in my offhand, not my main hand. And then just to try and rub it in, use that 20 damage. Oh, I love that. Lovely choking noises there. Let's see, because of her massive strength from the Potion of Hill Giant Strength, she can jump up to here into danger. Get these guys into the fight. I'm probably not going to show this whole fight. It's going to go on for a while. Alright, they're getting scared. Nah. Oh, and Lazel's now got a chance. Right, let's try and disarm him, because if he hits, he's going to do extra damage. Weapon dropped. Oh, I've run out of movement speed to go and pick this up. It's a massive shame. But he'll have to take an action to put it back on. Anyway, I kind of think I'm at the point where I'm not going to be showing you anything new anymore. So, fighters are great. People think they're simple, and I guess in a sense they are, but battlemasters I think are a very good subclass, especially in the game here. And they're consistent, they're solid. They've got lots of hit points, can have any armor, so they can have a high armor class. And their damage is mostly kind of resourceless, as it were. As in, we don't need to use spell slots to do extra damage. Ooh, Riposte. Wait, what was this? Sergeant threw an attack laser out and landed a critical hit. A critical miss is what they mean. They still called a 1 a critical hit. Anyway, yeah, we're going to take that opportunity. But I think they're really, really good. They're not just there to soak up damage. They're not there just as tanks. We really do decent amounts of damage. Oh, nice. But now I'm showing off what Spirit Guardians can do. So let me know what you think of fighters, what choices you make, what choices you like, maybe what you don't like about fighters. What items haven't I shown off? Because I haven't shown off every single item. I'm sure someone out there is going to be like, oh no, you forgot to show off this item. Just let us know. Just do it in a nice way. So if you made it this far, please do consider subscribing. As I mentioned earlier, I do have a Discord and channel membership, so if you're interested in those, please do look in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Oh, look at that jump, jumping up a flight of stairs there. How strong are we?